The name of the man who made the impossible possible was Brendon Greensoe. He was then the editor of a London newspaper. Like millions of people all over the world, he dreamed of a successful career. But unexpectedly that dream took a completely opposite turn. Suddenly one day during his daily work, a 10-year-old boy asks him, "Do you want to live on a secluded island?" Although the boy asked her a funny trick, Brendon also gave a funny answer as to why not. But then a coincidence happened. It was raining that night, and Brendon couldn't sleep, because the boy's question was running through his head. Brendon keeps thinking about the times he left behind in his life. And he also thinks about what might happen next in his life. But he's not young anymore. He is now a bachelor at the age of 40. He had no place of his own. So far he has not been able to do that. However, he did not have any regrets as he was a bachelor at the age of 40. There was no one to stop him. And from all these thoughts he began to think of something different. Shortly afterwards, Brendon began looking for a new island. Although his salary was not very high, his lifelong dream was to save some money to buy an apartment. He soon resigned from his job, leave friends, and come out of the confines of all kinds of rules and regulations of daily life. He used the money he had saved all his life to embark on an adventurous adventure. He chose Seychelles Island for his adventure, which was called Moyne Island, which was located 4.5 kilometers away from an island called Mayer. At 480 meters in length and 300 meters in width, it cost him $13,000 to buy the island. The island was relatively cheap at that time. And so he did not miss it. There is no counting the number of years that people have not set foot on this island. Brendon went on an expedition to Africa during his lifetime, which makes it extremely adventurous. At the time he bought the island, there was not a single coconut tree on the island. The whole thing was dry. When Brendon arrived on the island, he had only 2 bags in his hand. And he has to face all those challenges, the challenges that Robinson Crusoe faced. He built a small house, and he kept in it all the things he had brought for a year. Gradually Brendon began to transform that arid island into a wild island. A year later he got an assistant, whose name was Rinley Fortune. Originally, Rin lived on a nearby island. Rin continues to assist Brendon in all matters. Their job was to feed the birds, to take care of the turtles, and to plant trees. Time goes by and a decade passes. And at that time they planted about 6,000 saplings on the island, which is transformed into the habitat of numerous birds. It's much harder to do than to say. At first, countless birds were driven from a populated island. And those birds continue to move to the island of Brendon. Our Robinson started feeding those birds. Over time, countless birds began to nest on the island. Over the next 10 years they built about 5 kilometers of roads between the islands, as well as something else, enough for a person to live a happy life. Brendon, however, had to suffer a lot in the storm on that island. Incredibly, this phenomenon spread throughout the world in the modern era. In a short time the man became so popular that journalists lined up for his interview. However, he did not refuse an interview with a journalist. However, he did not give those interviews for fame or acquaintance. The only reason for this was that he loved his island very much. And if he could tell the world about this island, it would be his satisfaction. The 40-year-old Brendon's autobiography was published almost a decade after 1996, named A Grain of Sand: The Story of One Man and an Island. Brendon's trusted assistant and close friend Rinley Fortune died of cancer. He died a few years after Brendon Greensoe adopted him as his adopted son. So our Robinson started living alone on the island again. Brendon transformed his island, where nearly 2,000 new species of birds flocked to make their nest. Thanks to Brendon's efforts alone, more than 100 endangered turtles were able to reproduce. This is how Brendon transforms an abandoned piece of land into a paradise. It was so fascinating to see that in 2010 the Saudi prince agreed to pay Brendon $50 million for his island. He wanted to turn the island into a great resort. But Robinson of the modern age rejected the proposal. He did not want the island he had built so carefully to become a resort for the rich or famous. He wanted his cherished island to be turned into a national park, so that everyone can enjoy there. Journalists once asked him, "Have you ever felt lonely?" His answer was quite surprising. He replied, "Yes, I must have felt lonely. At that time I was renting an apartment in London. And then I needed to pay the electricity and phone bills." As a result of Brendon's many efforts since then, his island has been granted national park status. The island is named after Manny Island National Park. Today, the island is home to more species per square meter than any other island in the world. Main Island is now open to tourists. But you can't spend a night there. You will get short travel and lunchtime, with only €12 there. Dividends from visitors are invested in the development of the island. Whatever others think, Brendon has lived a happy life in this way. This modern-day Robinson Crusoe died in 2012. He said that if he had lived a few more days, he would have spent the rest of his life on the island. He lived such a happy life that he had no regrets later in life. At present there is a small museum and chapel on his island. It also has a name board of the island's owners since 1850. There are also 3 cemeteries, where Brendon's father and 2 unidentified pirates are buried. Yes, this is how a 40-year-old man was able to set an example in the world by changing the equation of all calculations of life. If you like the video, you can share it, and if you like watching such mystery thriller uncommon interesting videos. But subscribe to the Mystical Scene channel now. And press the bell icon next to it. So we will see in the next episode. Stay well until then. Thank you.